Proper activation of the transverse abdominis is key in many physiotherapy treatments, especially in cases of lower back pain, lumbopelvic instability, and postpartum recovery. However, identifying this activation is not always straightforward. In fact, it is one of the most common mistakes in clinical practice. At first glance, a patient may seem to be activating their abdomen correctly, but what is actually happening is that the rectus abdominis and other superficial muscles are doing all the work. This compensation not only leads to a false diagnosis, but also perpetuates functional problems. The pain does not improve, instability persists, and the patient remains stuck. With surface electromyography, you can accurately and in real time assess whether your patient is compensating with superficial muscles or correctly activating their deep musculature. Do you want to improve your core assessments and treatments? In the link in the description, you can contact us and discover how to use electromyography to reliably and effectively assess the transverse abdominis. Now, in this post, you're going to learn how to apply a simple, valid, and objective test to assess this activation. The hollowing exercise. An effective way to evaluate this activation is through the hollowing exercise, which involves drawing in the abdomen by pulling the navel inward without engaging the superficial muscles. The key is to use electromyography to measure the activity of the rectus abdominis and ensure that it remains almost inactive during the exercise. What should you look for? Hollowing hardly activates the rectus abdominis at all, allowing the transverse abdominis to take the lead. This means that the rectus abdominis should remain relaxed throughout the entire exercise, and its activation should be between 10 and 20 microvolts. I'm going to give you two real patterns that will help you interpret the test. Let's start with a correct activation of the transverse abdominis. Take a look at the image. When the patient performs hollowing correctly, the rectus abdominis, represented by the lower and upper rectus muscles, remains almost completely inactive. It shows less than 10 microvolts of activation, achieving a good response in the transverse abdominis. Now let's see what the compensated activation will look like. Take a look at the image. The rectus abdominis activates above 10 microvolts, reaching average activation levels of 50 microvolts. This indicates that the patient is using the superficial muscles to compensate for a lack of deep control. This will allow you to hypothesize that the transverse abdominis is not being properly recruited. Therefore, assessing the activation of the transverse abdominis is not just a technical matter. It is a clinical decision that will make a difference in your patient's progress. It's not enough to assume that the exercise is being done correctly. You need objective evidence to confirm whether the deep muscle that provides stability, motor control, and relapse prevention is truly being activated. Surface electromyography gives you that clarity. It helps you detect compensations, make real-time adjustments, and teach the patient to effectively connect with their deep musculature. Don't let a false sense of control or a compensatory pattern hold back the results. Take it a step further. Use electromyography to assess, intervene, and retrain with complete precision. See you in the next post.